Alright, today we are going to cover the basics of how to create a layout file. For those of you who may not know what a layout is, the layout is basically the frames for your viewports for your sheet production or for exhibit production or anything like that. And we have a template for layouts that I will open up right now. I'm going to press Control-N to open up a new drawing. And our templates are stored in S Autodesk Secure Templates. And the layout template is right here, LAYT. That's how we shorten layout. I'm going to open up a new layout drawing. The job that I'm working in, I'm going to go ahead and attach a base file. The job I'm working in already is 17023.01, so we'll just stay in here. I'm going to attach the base to help me get started with this layout. There's going to be two things that you'll need in order to get a layout going. One is a general idea of your project extents, and two, I guess the two you don't necessarily need. It kind of depends on your job specifics, but it helps if your layout is in reference to your construction center line. So you'll need a construction center line generated, and again, a general idea of your project extents, and that's most useful. The most useful way to get your project extents is with a base. So I'm going to attach the base right now. I don't really care about the relative path overlay thing, but it should be set up that way by default. And I don't care what layer this base is on right now either, because I have layer 0 active, but this base is going to get detached and everything's going to get purged from this drawing at the end of it when I'm done. So on this project, actually let's also get, I'm going to bring in my tool space. I'll drag this over onto the active screen so you can see. I'm going to reference my center line alignment that I created in Civil 3D in my align file. And I don't really care what this alignment looks like either, because again, I am going to end up deleting this from the drawing once I'm done with everything. On this particular project, I've already set up this layout. This pink line that you see right here that I'm kind of highlighting, I've already done this, but I'm going to go ahead and walk through it again and show you how I came to the decisions that I did. So for a roadway, generally we're going to have a plan view and a profile view on the same sheet, or potentially just a plan and a separate profile, but we like to set up the layouts in such a way that we leave room for a plan and profile on the same sheet. So in general, vertically, your profile is going to take up somewhere between 9 and 10 inches. And we generally do plans in AutoCAD at 20 scale. So if we go with 9 inches at 20 scale, then we know that we have 180 feet to work with vertically. And typically our length horizontally is 500 feet or less. So I'm going to the way that I set this layout up before, and I'll show you again, is I just offset the center line 90 feet because I have my 180 feet swath in order to generate these sheets. And then I know on this particular project that I'm going about 500-ish feet from this intersection, and also about 500 feet from this intersection. That's my job extents. So I'm just going to draw those so that I know where I need to include. So the improvements that I'm doing go to about right here, but I also kind of want to include this information because we're tying into a new job over here. So I'm going to include an informational sheet for this intersection, as well as including my job improvement limits. And over here, job ending here, I'm gonna need to go at least a few hundred feet beyond that in order to include everything and make sure that any striping tie-ins or any tie-ins that I need or any information I need that's adjacent is included. So I offset my center line 90 feet on each side to give a general width for my layouts. Now I need to determine where I want my sheet cuts to be, the vertical lines on the edges of the sheet. So if I know that my project limits are here, then I know we generally want to include 200 to 300 feet at least beyond the project. So my project ends at about, or starts really at about station 15. So I just picked station 12 as the next place I wanted to go. And then also this informational sheet over here. So There are a lot of ways you can generate a line at station 12, but since this is kind of on a curved area, I think this might be on the straight. But anyways, you can just add a label, add a station offset if you want, or you can add ticks to the alignment. Let's go ahead and do that. Oops. I'm going to need my label styles. So hold on, let me save this drawing real quick. I'm going to save this as a layout -2 or something in my job folder. And I'll delete this once I'm done with it. Okay, so now I'm going to import some styles and settings. I'm typing that in the command bar, import styles and settings. And I'm going to import the styles from our C3D template. Just so that I can get some tick marks. It makes it a little easier than drawing manual lines for these sheet cuts, if I can just draw along the ticks, because the ticks are drawn perpendicular to the center line automatically. So now I'm going to edit my alignment labels here, and I'm going to add some ticks at the major stations. Every 100 feet should be what these come in at. Yeah, so I've got ticks now at my major stations. I'm going to go ahead and say OK. And let's change the scale so that these are a little bigger and easier to see. Okay, so I know that I want to make station 12 a sheet cut. So I just draw a line from the endpoint of that tick, and I'm just going to extend it to the outside limits there of my sheet cut. So let's figure out what we want to do over here. I started at station 10. We need to include the whole intersection, but also in general, you're going to want your plan views to be a minimum of 400 feet long in 20 scale, just because if you make it only 300 feet or shorter than 400 feet in general, it's just going to look a little funny. So 400 or 500 is what we're shooting for on the length, the horizontal length of these sheets. So I'm going to make this 200 feet longer because I know it's already 200 feet long from station 10 to station 12. So LENDE for lengthen delta, 200, and I'm going to extend this line on both sides, and then draw a line at the end to connect them for the vertical sheet cut. Okay, so I started here at station 12. In general, like I said, the sheets are going to be 500 feet. So I know we need to go to station 17. So let's go ahead and do the same thing. We're going to draw a line along the tick and then extend it to both offsets of the center line. And at station 17, the only thing or not the only thing, but one thing that we want to generally look for at sheet cuts is whether or not we are cutting some important feature that we don't want to cut. On a roadway, in general, that would be like an intersection. We don't want to put a sheet cut inside an intersection, or maybe even an important feature or driveway or something like that. So in this case, station 17 doesn't interfere with any intersection or important driveways or features, so we're good at station 17. So 500 feet from that, let's go to station 22, and it looks like at station 22, again, we're good. We're not really interrupting anything that we don't want to have a sheet cut on. So I'm going to do the same thing. Vertical, just draw a line from the endpoints of the ticks and then extend it to the extensions or the offsets of the center line. So at station 22, we've got our sheet cut now. So let's go to station 27. Again, doesn't look like we're interfering with any features. And we're also on the straight now. So there's a PT right here. This is a curve in this section. So that's why I needed to draw from tick to tick, or endpoints of the tick, and then extend to the outsides, because on this curve section, the line that's perpendicular to the offsets is going to be constantly variable. And same thing over here. This is a straight section. In order on any straight section, for the first instance of a sheet cut, I'm going to draw a line perfectly perpendicular to the center line, and then I could offset. So if I wanted to, I could have offset this line 400 feet, and that would have worked just as well. But that's what I'm going to do over here at station 22. I know I've got a straight segment for quite a while, up until this PT or PI over here. So I'm just going to go ahead and offset this 500 feet and see how that works out. So I typed in O for offset, 500, and at station 27, not interrupting any features that we don't want to, so the sheet cut there is fine. Let's offset another 500 feet. So at station 32, looks like we're fine again, not really interrupting any features. Let's offset 500 feet again, and I think that we're going to get past this PI, but let's just see. And we do. So that means that this line right here that we just offset is no longer perfectly perpendicular to the center line because there's a PI here, which is going to change the bearing of that center line. So if we zoom in really close to this white line, we should be able to see that that pink line that I generated earlier in the layout that I've already produced is different from the white line. So that just demonstrates that the white line is no longer perpendicular to the construction center line. So let's do the thing where we draw a line from endpoint to endpoint on this tick to make it sure it's perfectly perpendicular to the center line. And again, we're going to offset or extend to the offset of the center line like we have before. So station 37, we've got a match line now, and now we've got another long straight section with no PI in between there, so we're just going to offset 500 feet again. So let's go and offset this, and it looks like we're good at 42, not interrupting any features that we can't. 47, we're pretty close to this intersection, but again, we're good. If we ended up at 48, which is right here, probably wouldn't have wanted to do that. Here, I'll offset this line just so you can see it. Say we ended up at station 48, this line would have been right here, and that's kind of in the intersection, not exactly in the middle, but that's probably still close enough that we would have wanted to either go to station 47 or 49, whichever was more convenient for that particular instance. But in this case, we ended up at 47, which is good. So let's offset 500 again. And again, we're not really conflicting with anything. So we'll offset another 500. We're good there. We'll offset another 500. And here, we ended up pretty close to this intersection. This is probably still okay, but I know that we need to add at least one more sheet beyond this anyways, because we need to end up getting into this area for our project improvements. So I'm just going to pull this back 100 feet so that we're not that close to the intersection and that all of our returns and everything like that can get in here just fine, and that we won't have any issues there. So let's offset this line 100 feet back. Delete our match line that was at station 62. All right, so now that we've got our match line set here at station 61, let's offset this 500 feet. Let's try from there. And again, oh, we've got a PI here. So this bearing changed, and this white line is now no longer perpendicular to the construction center line. So we'll go to this tick, snap from endpoint to endpoint, extend to the offset center line, got our sheet cut there at station 66. And so the project limits go to about this area right here that I'm highlighting. Let's add another sheet, 500 feet offset, and that puts us from station 6750-ish is where the project will end to 71. That gives us plenty of coverage. So we are good there. So now that we've got all of our sheets cut, I'm going to trim up these lines. And I'm going to delete these circles. And now I'm going to detach the base, which I'm doing this off screen. You can't see that, but that's what I'm doing. And I'm going to delete the alignment. And now all this stuff I drew on layer 0. You could have changed to C layout at the beginning, but I'm just changing it at the end. Either way, at some point you need to make sure that all of the only objects in this drawing ever should be on C-LAYT. That's the only layer that anything should ever be on in the layout file. It's a non-plot layer that you'll be able to see in whatever files it's attached to, but it will not plot in your drawings. And yeah, so put everything on C-LAYT. And now that I've got everything out of my drawing that I don't want and I've got my layout created, I'm going to purge, audit, and then clean save. And that standards violation is related to some things that came in with the C3D template that we need to fix and get in the standards, the CATS or the Dibble standard file. But anyways, that's a layout file, and this one should be good to go. let's just say, just real quick, let's touch on something else. I'm going to attach the base again and just say that we want to create an exhibit from this. So what I just did is relevant to if you've got a construction center line that you're building off of. But let's just say that somebody, the client wants an exhibit of this area, this intersection. Then generally, I mean, there are a lot of ways that you can do this. There's no one way. I'm gonna create a new layout here, and I'm just gonna start from nothing. Let's bring in some template stuff. Actually, a block. Let's do it exhibit border. Where is that? This sheet. Exhibit border. Okay, so now we've got an exhibit border in here. And again, I'm not really paying attention to what layers things are on because this is all going to get deleted anyways. But in general, you're going to want to put this stuff on the correct layers, which for the exhibit border, I believe, should be CNO label. No, CNO title block. CTTLB. Anyways, those layers aren't in here because this isn't a sheet template, and you would have created this from the right template in the first place. This is just for demonstration. So I'm going to create a viewport here just to get us on the map, and go back to my model space where I would create this this layout. So if I just wanted this intersection area and I knew that, I'd probably start off with some point in the middle of the intersection and just use that as my base. So I'm going to say that I want this point, this water valve, doesn't really matter where it is, as my base. And I know that I want the extents to be about to here, so I'll just see what distance that is. It looks like it's about 86 feet to this point, so let's just go 100 feet. And then we'll extend this line another 100 feet south. And then let's offset it 100 feet to each side. And that is going to provide me the basis for my layout. So I'm going to connect these lines here. And polyjoin those, match them to the layout. Actually, let's send this to the back so I can actually select the line I want. Match this to the C layout style, and this would be my viewport for this exhibit. And I generally like to keep any type of exhibit viewports just straight north-south or straight east-west, and not necessarily rotate them according to the center line alignment, just because it's easier that way, and generally you're not going to need your alignment for your construction center line to be perfectly straight on an exhibit. If you do, then you're going to want to do the same type of thing where these match lines are drawn perpendicular to the construction center line. But in this case, this layout will work just fine for us. We're going to go back to our layout file with the sheet or the exhibit template and get in the general vicinity of where we want to be. Let's try 1 inch equals 10. We could probably even go a little bigger. Let's say 5. See if we can fit that. And no, we're not going to be able to fit that. So we'll make this 10 again. And snap this to the endpoint here. The reason why it's nice to keep everything straight north and south is because all of your sheets are already set up that way to where that's the world view. The z-axis is not rotated, and so yeah, you just won't have to do any rotation of your viewports or anything if you use straight north-south or straight east-west as your basis. So I'm going to snap this here to the middle and then move it down to the middle of this sheet. And there we go. That would be how I would create the layout for that sheet. And again, this should be on CView. Layers, don't pay attention to the layers necessarily of what I did, with the sheet related stuff. But in a layout file, everything should be on C-LAYT, and you would really go into separate files for your exhibits and sheet creation in order to use this layout. But that's the basics of how to create a layout for either an exhibit or for your sheet production.